All right, y'all, let's make something. So the other day I posted some jewelry boxes. Super cute. Look how cute these are. They're so tiny. So this is gonna fit in my purse. Like, we're going on a cruise here in a few weeks. And look at all the storage space in this thing. So I posted them. We got a bunch of orders, so let's make one. So here's my laser engraver setup. I have the XTool M1. I believe it's a 40 watt. Don't quote me, because this is my newest machine. While it has been pretty easy to work into, because with all these programs, even if you don't know how to use the program, if you know what functions mean, if you just learn little functions like through any of these softwares, they kind of, you know, cross the board. So even jumping into something new, all right, there's a little bit of a learning curve with an engraver, because you have settings that we're not necessarily used to. But the good thing is, when you get something new, there's tons of Facebook groups out there to help. So I joined an XTool for beginners, M1. So you find these Facebook groups, and there are people who are more than happy to share their settings, what materials they're using, where they're getting the materials from. So don't be afraid to ask to join these Facebook groups and get in there. Even if you're thinking about buying a machine, join a Facebook group. See if you think it's going to be too hard before you jump right into the situation. So we wanted an engraver. We went with this one as our first one. This thing has been a workhorse for us. We do tons of awards throughout the year, and so we hope to upgrade to something a little quicker here in the near future. But this, we could not have asked for a better beginning machine than what we got with the M1, the XTool. So here's a little tip that I learned, and this is new for me with trying to use a tripod and going to different places and trying to still be able to show you guys things. So if I'm like in the way of the shot, that's totally me just learning. So here's one thing that I have learned. I did some leather, so I have my risers in there. My bottom comes out so that I can do tumblers, tons of different things. And I learned something real quick. So my bottom comes in and out. So when I'm having to go back and forth between the two different sizes of materials, whether the inside is in there or the inside is out, I've learned you don't have to screw that thing back down in there. You just let it sit, and then it's easy to make the transition when you want to go from something where you need the bottom in there, or whether you need to be able to have a little bit more room, because that laser can only be so far away from the material that you're going to be working with. So in this case, if this was sitting inside of there on top of that, my lasers would be hitting it. It would, the box that the laser goes around on would be hitting that. So that's why for this thing, we're going to take the bottom out. And like I said, I don't screw it. It comes with screws. It tells you when you take it in and out to screw it in and out. There's no reason to. Where's it going to go? It has these little grooves that it sits down in. There's nowhere for it to go. So I don't use the screws. Okay, second tip that I'll give you. Find things to use to get to your heights that stack nice. I'm sure they probably have things that are expensive that they sell you as an accessory to put in here. Well, me, I just have a bunch of trivets that I had bought to use. Totally messed them up starting. That one's a brand new one. But they're not the greatest, and I didn't pay hardly anything for them. I wasn't going to throw them away. They're not that bad. But what I use them for is stability in the bottom of my machine. So I keep these stacked up And depending on, and we'll have to see when I stick it in here what we're doing, depending on my height, I may have to remove one of these and take it down to a different height, or I may need to add. Another little trick, you can see I have risers on the bottom of here. My machine came with that. They're little blocks, and you turn them, they have little grooves, and you can turn them to get them to different heights so that it will hold your machine up off of whatever you have your machine sat on. And sometimes what you're working with the risers is just not enough. This thing can be a little finicky on, I'll show you when we go to auto measure, but when we go to do that, it's possible that we will have to, again, super cheap here. These are just little tiles. Just like, I got them with sublimating stuff. They're like, you can get them at the Home Depot or hardware store or anywhere. They're not very much, probably less than $1. Just super cheap little tiles. And sometimes I'll have to put them under the riser to give myself just that tiny bit, little more raise in the laser. So depending on what you're working with, you may have to come up and get a little creative on how much room you have or need or any of that. The only thing you have to watch with these tiles is that they can be slick. And this wood here on these risers is a little bit slick. So it's easy to, when you're like leaning over here looking inside your machine, to bump it a little bit. And it's not gonna fall, but it slides very easy. So you just need to make sure that you're keeping this machine square and that you have it straight, because if you don't use square lines and we go to put this in there, it's not going to engrave straight across. And it may be off just a little bit and your customer won't notice, but you will, and it'll drive you crazy like it does me. So let me pause this here. I'm going to put this in and we'll measure it on the computer and see what else we need to do. All right, so here we go. Again, bear with me because I am getting used to these new type of setups with trying to record and do everything. So hopefully you can see in here. So here's my box. Here is the movement box where the laser sits. And as you can see, if this slides over here, it's going to hit, it's just going to knock that off there. It's not going to be able to check it. So only thing I need to do, just let's start out, we'll take out a few of these and we'll just keep measuring here. Like whatever is in the bottom, you can see I have a grid mat on the bottom, and I kind of use that as reference point on finding my middle ground, because even with the trivets that are in the bottom that I use as a riser, I try and make sure that it's all squared, and it just makes it easier when it comes in. Now, could I have moved my risers, which were the little blocks that I showed you, to get the height that I want? Well, maybe, but it's hard moving each individual of these like one at a time. Now, if we had 4 people here and we're messing with it, we could do that in about 10 seconds. But do it by yourself and moving things, I find it easier to leave these this way and then just use my little trick of the trivets and the different things on the inside. That's way easier for me, and it just works better, because I am afraid of like a sudden jar, or if I would accidentally drop and something happened to the laser part of my my XTool here. So I try to be very careful with that. So let's shut this, and you can see it lights up in there. And I'm going to see if it will measure. And it tells me, I'll show you what we're working with here. All right, so hopefully you can see this because I can't see the screen. So what I hit was auto measure, and then that way it can tell me whether I'm close enough or too close or too far away or what. And it says thickness measurement failed. Please raise the material higher and try again. Well, that's easy. Let's go back over here. And now, if we hadn't be using this little trivet method that I use, we now would have to be messing with all these risers again. So all I'm gonna do, grab me one of my trivets, stick it down in here. Again, I try and square it up. That's just because that's me. And we're going to try it again. See if we can get it all in here. Oh, here's one thing that I've totally messed up. So, this is one of these where going from one machine to the next, and where we had just taken out that bottom for the last thing that I had to do. You remember I had the bottom in there. So my settings aren't correct, and that could be what is causing the problem when we go to try and measure. So we're not in the laser flat. We have a open plane, meaning that the bottom is open. And so let's try measuring it again now and see what it thinks. Okay, it says auto measure succeeded, so perfect. All right, let's make sure that you can see everything here. Okay, so this is a little bit harder to see just because my screen, and then it is a black jewelry box that we're working with. So, and unfortunately, when I go to import my image, which, let's do this one first. This is initials that are going on the front of this box. Well, as you can see, it's a little bit hard to see. So we're going to pause right here. I'm going to clean the screen, check everything, make sure we're good, and then we'll be able to hit the start buttons. Okay, so we're back. I forgot to measure my box, so I went ahead and measured my box again. I decided my design I'm going to do close to 2.5 by 2.5, and I am trying something, so we'll see how it works. I went ahead and put a white piece of paper under that jewelry box just so I can have a little bit more clarity and be able to see it on the screen better, because that is the only thing about these machines. The camera is awesome, but it's not great. And there is, you can see how on this screen the depth perception is a little bit off. So you just have to know that going in and then take that into account. So I always try to like stay towards the bottom of a design or of a object, a product, whatever we're working on with my design, and then that way we're close to lining up with something, and it doesn't have to be perfect. So you can see I believe I'm like squared, but more towards the bottom. On this one, you can pick different materials. I'm going to put user-defined materials. I've got my object, my design highlighted, and then so by choosing user-defined, I have to put in how much power and how much speed this laser is going to put out. So this is where these Facebook groups come in handy, because people had been doing these jewelry boxes before, so they told me exactly what speeds they were using, and they're using my exact machine. So I'm just going to use their settings. I may have to tweak them a little bit, but at least it gives me a baseline. So I keep all mine like on this little reference guide thing that they sent with the XTool, and I just kind of keep adding them on my list here. So with these little jewelry boxes, I am going to do a power of 40. These take very low power, and a speed of 100. And I don't hardly ever mess with how many passes it's going to do. And then I'm just going to hit process and hope that we've done great. Now, you can frame it. I usually don't because it goes black inside of here. And like you can see, it's lit up now. But I'll show you what happens as soon as I press frame. Alright, to hit frame, or for it to frame, I'm going to press that button, and it highlights in there. But it goes over top, like the way it goes over top of your product, it's hard to see if you've got it exactly lined up. So I'm guessing just as well with it on my computer screen, so I hardly ever frame. But I just wanted to do that so that you all could see. So our framing is complete. We're going to hit start. It says it's going to take us 8 minutes. We'll see. Sometimes it's faster, sometimes not. So see y'all in 8 minutes. Alright, so here we go. It actually took 9 minutes and 4 seconds to do this. As you can see, like, it didn't stick to its 8-minute thing. If it took longer, it took longer, and it'll just adjust that. So it was an estimate anyway. So let's see what we got after 9 minutes and 4 seconds. So take a look at our box. As you can see the shading on there a little bit. Sometimes you'll get something out and it'll look way too dark or too much soot, or you don't know, like, oh, that didn't work. But give it a chance. Try and clean it up and see what you come up with. And it may just be that it needs the soot brushed off of it. So let's clean it and see what we got. So for cleaning engraved items, I watched a lot of videos. There was a really cool guy who does leather work on, I think it's Cooper Cactus. I'll have to go back and look, but I enjoy watching his TikToks, and he had a list of everything you need, and he suggested like a brush. I don't know why I didn't think about a brush, so he suggested this $17 brush. Well, I ain't paying no $17 for a brush, so I went to Walmart in the car cleaning aisle, got me like not a soft bristled brush, but not hard either, if that makes sense. It was like $3. You use it, you just scrape off any of the like excess soot that you have after cleanup, or after it comes out of the machine. I've already done this, so me doing this again is just for show. Alright, another thing that everybody talked about was a product called LA Awesome. And I'll tell you, I looked everywhere for this. And then finally I was like Googling things or watching YouTube on what to use other than LA Awesome to clean these things up. And came across, they said, the Platinum Dawn Dish Power Spray. So we use it at home. It's really good. So it's a dish liquid that it has like a continuous spray, and it's the Platinum. And so I go down to my Dollar General to pick some of that up, and I find it, and it's $7 a thing down there. And then while I'm looking through their items, I find LA Awesome by the gallon. So don't count out your little podunk little store that it may have some of these things that you think you can only get on Amazon. Because I got a gallon of the LA Awesome for $6.97. And then I went ahead, they sold these little spray bottles too that had it in there for like $1 or something. So I went ahead and bought the spray bottle too, and then I'll just fill the spray bottle up out of the gallon. So after you've brushed it, I spritz a little LA Awesome on these blue shop rags, and then just wipe the soot, depending on what the item you're working with. Is, you know, how you need to pay attention, because you don't want to rub too much. Like, there is an art to this, believe it or not. So when we first pulled this out, it was super dark. Now you cannot see it great. My lighting in here is not great, but this looks good in person. It's super cute. Now these boxes you need to make sure that you check them, because they're going to, when you pull that off the top, it's going to show whatever color is underneath. So these have like a tannish color underneath, so that's what ends up showing. That's why this one has that color underneath. So we're going to keep at these. We have a few more to go to get this order finished up, so hopefully you enjoyed something. Usually, like I said, we learn something when we mess up. So don't be afraid. Give us a like, follow, subscribe, whatever social media we're on right now. So we enjoyed doing this with you. Hopefully you enjoyed doing it with us, and we'll see you next time.